largest town in Ladakh. Now 70% of Ladakhis are farmers, but many right here are vendors. And April to September is really a busy time, and that's when many Ladakhis make most, if not all, of their annual income. But when winter comes and it's cold and long, the economy slows way down. So many Ladakhis opt to spend those months with family, which sounds good to me. Leaving here, we're now going to travel to some pretty remote places. And as you'll see, this is a land of stunning rivers and mountains, and of course, great culture. So we hope you'll join us on this glimpse of Ladakh. We're here in the high mountains of Ladakh at about 13,000 feet at the Lamaruyu Monastery, and Ladakh is an amazing place, particularly from a cultural perspective. Pretty much everyone here still practices Tibetan Buddhism. In many ways, Ladakh is more Tibetan than Tibet. I'm here with my good friend Gyaltsen, an incredible guide, and I just wanted to introduce you to him.
Hi, my name is Gyaltsen. So I met him from yesterday. So I belong to the Kajupa school. And I was spent my life in 2 years here, and after that I went to Varanasi and studied there the 9 years about Buddhist philosophy. And I just met yesterday to Marx.
We're sitting here beside the Indus River in Ladakh, India. The Indus is one of the great rivers in the world. By volume, it's the 21st biggest river on Earth. It's a river that has its headwaters on the Tibetan Plateau. It then runs through Ladakh, India, before entering Pakistan. And it runs in a north to south direction and eventually terminates near the port city of Karachi in the Arabian Sea. The Indus is a river that's incredibly important to both India and Pakistan. And while those two countries have had a contentious relationship over the years, the sharing of the Indus waters has been one of the bright spots in that relationship. However, with concern arising about the impacts of climate change, receding glaciers, the fact that flows on the Indus may be less in the decades ahead, combined with the fact that both countries are now building dams on the Indus, concern over how much water each country should access, that may well become a major bone of contention. While the people of Ladakh are the very soul of this part of India, the heart of Ladakh, though, really lies in its mountains and the rivers that cut through them. Whether it be big rivers like the Indus or small rivers like the Wanla behind me, which is a tributary of the Indus. And that little footbridge behind me, if you were to cross that and work your way upstream, you'd come across all kinds of villages and settlements, which really highlight the fact that wherever you go in the world, people are dependent on waterways like this. We're traveling on the Karangla Road, perhaps the world's highest motorable road. It's a pretty bumpy and adventurous trek. Gyaltsen, tell me what you think.
Yeah, we are crossing the highest motorable road of the whole, so it's
a little bumpy.
It's bumpy and
at about 18,300 feet, and at this elevation, certainly to talk or walk, it takes a bit of an effort. But the high mountains of Ladakh are incredible. Also, they're largely devoid of vegetation, so when you're walking or hiking or driving through them, you often feel like you're walking through or traveling through a high desert, which in reality you are. So for anyone with an interest in mountaineering, high country travel, Ladakh is a great destination. I think a lot of people, when they come to India, they don't think to come to Ladakh, but it is a great place to visit. And this is the Diskut Monastery from the 14th century, an amazing monastery that overlooks the Nubra Valley. This incredibly beautiful valley, incredibly productive valley. It is the lowest valley in all of Ladakh, and yet the valley floor still sits at about 10,000 feet. interesting features in a corner of this valley are these incredible sand dunes that you see. And if it weren't for the mountains in the background, you'd almost feel like you're in the Sahara. And a really interesting resident of these sand dunes are these Bactrian camels. They're a two-humped camel, and their descendants were abandoned here centuries ago by Central Asian traders as they traveled the Silk Route, a trading route that connected Tibet with Turkestan and happened to travel through the Nubra Valley. Anyway, I'm going to see if I can take a ride on the fellow behind me.
There we go. All right. That's your Bactrian camel. We've just climbed the last few hundred feet above the Kardungla Pass, and we're here at the monastery, perhaps the highest, certainly the highest monastery in Ladakh, maybe the highest in the world. But even climbing these last few hundred feet is quite an effort, and it makes me appreciate all the more what great Canadian climbers, old friends like Dan Culver and Jim Habrel, what they did in the early 90s when they summited the highest peaks on Earth. But even from here, you feel like you're literally on top of the world.